So, what does it really take to become a complete athlete? It's way more than just what you do in the gym. Today, we're going to break down a blueprint for peak performance that connects, well, pretty much everything, from your finances to your mindset with how you actually perform.
And it all kicks off with this one simple idea. Track everything. You can't grow what you don't measure. Seriously, this single principle is the engine for this entire program. It's all about taking a data-driven approach to, well, everything, making self-awareness the absolute foundation for getting better.
Okay, so what does that philosophy actually look like in practice? Let's dive into the core mindset. Because before we even think about touching a dumbbell, we have to understand the mental foundation that holds this whole system up.
And this is where things get really interesting, because the program just shatters that typical gym rat stereotype. It actually treats your life as a performance category. You see stuff like systems over goals for building habits, a focus on financial health, and yeah, even things like personality tests and shoutouts to Ted Lasso. It tells you right away this is about the whole person, not just the body.
So the big takeaway here is that this is a truly holistic approach. The philosophy is pretty simple, actually. Peak performance doesn't just happen by accident in the gym. Nope, it's the direct result of a life that's well-designed and well-managed. Your mindset, your money, your relationships, it all fuels what you can do on the field.
All right, so we've got that philosophical foundation in place. But how does it all break down into something you can actually do? Well, that brings us to the 4 pillars of performance. The entire system is built on these 4 distinct pillars. First, you've got training, which covers your speed work, gym sessions, and that steady-state cardio called Zone 2. Then there's diet, with a focus on just the foundational supplements you really need. The life pillar is where you see that personal and financial growth stuff. And finally, equipment, just making sure you have the right tools for the job. You put them all together, and you've got a complete ecosystem for performance.
Now let's zoom in on that first pillar, training. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty of the physical work. Let's look inside the training engine. So the program has you in the gym 2 days a week, but they are totally different. They have 2 very distinct complementary goals. Day 1 is all about laying the foundation. We're talking mechanics, technique, and preventing injuries. Think of drills like foot-banded dead bugs to build that rock-solid core stability. Then Day 2 builds on that foundation. It's all about strength and power, using explosive stuff like a single-leg hop to a box jump to build that raw athletic ability. It's like Day 1 builds the car's chassis and Day 2 drops in the engine.
The approach to getting faster is just as deliberate. The goal? Simple. Run faster. But the method is what's key here. It is all about quality over quantity. That means you're training at the absolute highest intensity you can, but for very few reps. And, this is crucial, you do it while you're physically fresh. This isn't about getting tired. It's about teaching your body to be explosive with drills like tuck jumps and timed 30-yard sprints. So we've seen the what and the how, but to really make this system work for you, you've got to understand the why. So that brings us to the science behind all this skill development.
I mean, it's a totally fair question. Why these specific exercises? Are they just picked out of a hat? Not a chance. Every single drill is chosen for a very specific reason, to develop a measurable athletic quality.
First up, let's talk power. The definition is pretty simple. It's your ability to generate force as fast as you possibly can. Remember that single-leg hop to box jump from the Day 2 workout? Yup, that drill is pure focused power development. Next is speed. You can think of this as an all-out effort for a really short time. And this connects directly to the heart of the speed day, those timed 30-yard sprints. You're directly training and testing that exact quality. It's a straight line.
And then you've got agility. Now this is different from just straight line speed. This is all about your ability to change direction quickly and efficiently. It's about training your body and your brain to react, which is why the program uses drills that make you respond to cues you can't predict.
Okay, so we get the philosophy, we get the structure, and we get the science. But how do you manage all these moving parts? Well, this brings us right back to that number 1 rule we started with. Track everything. It's time to talk about how to master the whole system.
This is where tracking becomes so important for managing your recovery. The program uses a really simple method called RPE, which stands for Rate of Perceived Exertion. Just think of it as your personal difficulty score for any workout on a scale of 1 to 10. A 1 is like a casual walk, and a 10 is the absolute hardest you could possibly go. You just give your session a number, then note how long it was. So in this example, a tough 90-minute gym session gets an 8, while a 2-hour all-out scrimmage, that's a 10 for sure.
And the math is incredibly simple. You just multiply your RPE score by the workout duration in minutes, and boom, that gives you a single number for the total load of that workout. Now, why does this matter? Because it lets you objectively compare a short, intense gym session to a long, grueling practice. When you track this number over time, you can manage your total stress and, most importantly, avoid overtraining. It's a game changer for regulating yourself.
So what does all this look like in the real world? This schedule shows how the whole system fits into a busy week. And notice, this isn't a full-time pro athlete with all day to train. This is someone juggling work and life with high-level training. It just proves that if you have the right system, you don't have to sacrifice a well-rounded life to achieve elite performance.
And that brings us full circle, right back to that core idea that systems are way more powerful than just goals. So the question this whole blueprint leaves us with is a pretty simple one. In your own life, are you just focused on chasing goals, or are you building a system that sets you up for sustainable success? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.